Okay, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is really bad, but I have to talk to someone about it. So if you don't know who Sonic the Hedgehog is, I would say you probably are a bit of a fucking idiot, but basically all you need to know about Sonic the Hedgehog is two things. He's fast and he's blue. And basically I think in the boardroom meeting of people from DreamWorks and Sega who make this movie, those were like the two things that they needed and wanted to get through to people when they decided on what this movie was going to be like. And I think they thought that as long as they focused on the fact that Sonic was both fast and blue, then this would be a good movie. But the main problem with the movie is that they didn't make it good. I guess this movie kind of reminds me of this phase I went through when I was a kid, when I used to put food dye in different foods and eat it, and my body couldn't process the food dye properly. So when I did a shit, the shit was coloured in the colour of the food dye. So if I ate food with blue food dye, I'd shit out a blue shit. And that's kind of like what this movie is. Did that happen to anyone else? And before you say it, yes, I am aware that this movie is made for 10-year-old kids to see with their parents on a Saturday afternoon and then come home from the movie thinking it was the best thing ever and running around the house really fast and saying things like, gotta go fast, and annoying the fuck out of their parents and all the other adults that are around them for the rest of the week because they can't stop thinking about this movie. But I still need to talk about how dumb this movie is. I think that the main problem with this movie is that every issue that the main characters encounter is totally bypassable by the fact that Sonic is very fast. The main hurdle and the main plot point of the movie is that Sonic, basically without spoiling it, has to retrieve something from San Francisco when he's currently in, I think, Montana. And the way he gets to San Francisco is in this buddy up road trip with a police officer who's the second main character in the movie, while also trying to run away and hide from the main villain in the movie, Dr. Robotnik, who's played by Jim Carrey. The issue is that several times in the film, it is established that Sonic is capable of running faster than time itself, in scenes that look like they're both inspired and lifted pretty much entirely from those Quicksilver scenes from one of the X-Men movies. I literally don't even know what X-Men movie Quicksilver is from because there are so many goddamn X-Men movies these days. But basically those scenes where time totally slows down and Sonic or Quicksilver do a bunch of stuff that we see in real time, or not real time, we see from their like ultra fast perspective. So I guess after seeing those scenes and then seeing that Sonic is being driven around across the country in a car on a highway and stopping off in motels overnight and filling up fuel and mundane, monotonous shit like that, I got really annoyed and frustrated very quickly. Seriously, why the fuck couldn't Sonic run from the starting point, Montana, straight to San Francisco? Literally every problem encountered in the film would have been done away with if he just did this. And it literally makes no sense. Like if you look at Google Maps, driving from Montana to San Francisco takes 19 hours at least. But I want to reiterate again that it is shown several times in this film that Sonic is able to run faster than time flows. Essentially, by the laws of the movie that are set up by itself, Sonic should be able to make it to San Francisco pretty much instantly and end the film straight away. And they don't even try to explain it with some dumb restrictions on his speed powers like, oh, I can only go that fast sometimes, and it takes me a lot of energy to run that fast, so if I ran that fast, I'd lose all of my energy. They don't even do something like that, something basic to explain it like that, because Sonic doesn't have restrictions on his speed. Literally the whole point of Sonic is that he goes really fast and there's no limitations to his speed. His name is literally Sonic. He doesn't get tired. He just likes running a lot. It's like the whole point of playing a Sonic game is that you just hold down the run button and run fast and go through the loops and shit like that. Like you don't really care about anything else other than that. It's just that feeling of going fast. The only way they do try to justify this gaping plot hole is that Sonic thinks he's going to get lost because he doesn't know the way to San Francisco. but he could literally read a map faster than the car. They show him reading an entire series of Flash comic books in like 1 second. He could literally find any alternative than the method he chooses to get to San Francisco, and it would have been faster. The movie makes no sense. It's a pointless adventure. Sonic could have just ended the movie immediately. Ironically, if the Sonic movie was as fast as Sonic should be, it might have been better. And I guess it didn't help that pretty much every character in the movie is really boring or annoying or just kind of sucks. There are some funny moments in this movie, but they're quite fleeting and they're not even that funny. And I just feel like they totally missed Sonic and what his personality is supposed to be. Like, Sonic is supposed to be this cool and headstrong and a little bit cocky kind of character with a bit of attitude and a lot of confidence about him. In the movie, Sonic is an annoying idiot that sucks. And I guess we should keep in mind that the original design and conception for the live action Sonic in this movie when the first trailer was released was so negatively reviewed by fans that this entire movie had to go into a new production phase to redesign Sonic to look more like the game Sonic. I just can't help but wonder why they didn't just use the standard Sonic design in the first place. But I kind of thought that that was a good thing, that these companies were so invested in the fan response to the movie that I thought that this movie might actually be really, really, really good and not just a shitty little kids movie. Like, Sonic's game design is really cool and his standard personality really suits that design. But instead, the original plan for the movie was to use this horrific, nightmare-fueling mess of a design that suffered from extreme backlash, and rightfully so. The main thing about video game movies is they generally tend to fail to encapsulate what's so fun about actually playing a game. The thing about video games is most of the entertainment value and fun comes from your input and your ability to make choices in the game. And some games do have decent stories and plots and characters, but I feel like most people play them for the interaction aspect. And that's why when video game adaptations happen as movies, they tend to just suffer for bearing no real resemblance to what the games actually are or to the spirit of the games. Pretty much every video game movie ever made has been notoriously unsuccessful and critically panned. But the thing about the Sonic movie is that as a kids movie, it isn't that bad, and I can see kids having a really good time in the cinema while I was there, which I guess is when I realized that this movie just literally wasn't for me at all. Though I do think that's representative of a greater problem because the movies aren't being made for fans and nostalgic purposes and people who are fans of video game series, but more for making a really basic, simple, but visually appealing movie that parents will funnel money into to shut their kids up for 90 minutes on a Saturday. I guess what I wanted to see from this movie was more references to the actual games. At the start of the movie, you see Sonic running through Green Hill Zone, the original level from the first Sonic game, and it looks awesome in this live action render. But that's pretty much all the references to the scenery and level design of the games. And even the music didn't particularly use many of the Sonic themes that are really good and recognizable. There was only one point I noticed where the Sonic theme from Green Hill Zone was actually used in like an orchestral form, but I really would have loved to hear more of those kinds of songs used. Plus, I think Sonic needed more of a supporting cast of characters to be there with him so he could actually be the leader of the group that he's supposed to be. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik was also pretty disappointing. It was definitely that old school Jim Carrey style of comedy that was very physical, but I just didn't feel like he really embodied what Dr. Robotnik was supposed to be in the games. There is one more original Sonic character that does appear very, very late in the movie as a sort of cameo appearance, and I'll literally give you one guess who it is. And to be honest, and this says a lot about the film, but when that character appeared on screen, I feel like that was the best point of the film. They appeared in a post-credit scene. But I guess I always really enjoyed the designs of the characters in the Sonic franchise. I really like their edginess and their spikiness, and I don't know, just the way they all look is really cool. And I really did like the design they ended up going with Sonic. But for that reason, I kind of wish the other characters like Tails, Knuckles, and even shadow also made their way to the real world like Sonic did. It kind of makes me think of something like Rocky and Bullwinkle, or even like Space Jam, like that kind of situation where these animated characters somehow find their way into the real world and have to like interact with the conventions of our world while being used to their world. Plus the storyline becomes this stupid kids movie thing where Sonic is like a whiny baby who complains about not having any friends and wanting to make a real friend in his life. And at the end of the movie, he ends up being saved by the power of friendship. Seriously, what is it with children's fiction and the power of friendship and love? It's literally in everything from this to Harry Potter. What the fuck does that even mean, Dumbledore? Well, I guess if we can learn anything from children's movies, it's that friendship and love are the keys to obtaining untapped power that can overthrow all of your enemies. I don't know why I was expecting this to be something more than it was, but I just didn't like any of the characters and how they were characterized, and I honestly spent most of the movie just wanting it to be finished so I could go home and continue with my day.
You're too slow!
I guess in some ways it sort of reminds me of the Detective Pikachu movie, but I just feel like they did that better with so many more references to the source material, and that being a world in which like the real world and the Pokemon world were like one, they were the same, and I thought that was a much better way of doing it. The way the movie ends means there's definitely going to be a sequel, which I guess could be a bit better because it seems like they do plan on including some of the extended cast of the games. But I literally would never care if I never watched or heard about this movie franchise again. But I am keen to know what you thought. Did you like this movie? If you did, let me know in the comments section. Give this video a like. I hate doing all this generic like YouTube subscribe stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other videos and reviews and stuff like that. And go and check out my podcast as well. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Radio Mike, and this has been The Inside of My Mind. Catch ya!